welcome to the Journey Through the Generations podcast. I'm Trisha, and today we're going to talk about a recent genealogy road trip that I took a couple of weeks ago with my mom to Little Rock. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Trisha.
Recently, I have been feeling a little, what's the word?
Underwhelmed
With my research, and I thought that having a new scenery, getting out and actually looking at documents and off of my couch without my computer would maybe help get me motivated to do some more research. And I thought that would be a good time to take my mom to the Butler Center for Arkansas Studies in Little Rock and look at one of my favorite collections there, which is the James Logan Morgan collection. The James Morgan collection is near and dear to my heart for many reasons. The collection is very large, number one. It contains all information about Jackson and Woodruff counties, which is where my ancestors are from. And I actually knew Mr. Morgan. We went to church together when I was younger, growing up in Newport. He and my grandmother and my mother worked with him on various community programs and the Jackson County Historical Society as well. What do you remember about Mr. Morgan?
Well, I remember that he was a friend of the family. And yes, we did go to church with him, and he was always available to us. At the time, I knew he was part of the Jackson County Historical Society, but I had no idea that he was actually collecting all of the information that he had, like the obituaries and different programs that he did for the community. So I guess I was kind of surprised that it turned into such a huge collection, especially about the African Americans in Newport and Jackson County.
Yeah, I first found out about the collection a few months after it was available to the public in 2015. And the first time that I went, I remember I came back, or I maybe sent you a text, I don't remember. But I remember telling you that this collection was huge. The article that they discussed about it being, available to the public said that there were over 250 boxes that they had to go through, which included over 3,000 funeral programs and 2,000 obituaries and school records, church records, all of these information, like you said, that is particularly about African Americans in Jackson and Woodruff County. So do you remember me telling you?
I do remember that. I do remember that.
Did you, now that you've seen part of the collection, do you think that I was like under excited about it? I mean, did you believe that this collection was as vast as it was?
Well, as excited as you were, I still could not believe that the collection could be as large as it was being noted to be. And I actually saw the newspaper article where it said about the collection being donated, to the Butler Center. But I still could not believe that. And after, having seen it, just, spending the 4 hours, I can tell now that it really is something that everybody should see.
Yes, I have been talking about this collection for 2 years, and everybody that I know from Newport, and every time I'm in Little Rock, everybody knows I'm going to eventually go to the Butler Center to look at this collection. And I know everybody's like, why is she still talking about this Morgan collection? She's not done looking at this yet, because every time I come back, it's like I have a new finding. I find something else that's actually about our family, not just about the community. He has photographs. He has obituaries, funeral programs. He has things that happened in the community from the newspaper that he has clipped out. And he was a genealogist as well, so he did help people in the community do their family tree. And when he did that, he made copies for himself of along with giving them a copy. So he has all of this information about the families in Jackson County and across the country, honestly, if you go through the finding aid. So it is a really big collection, and I knew that I wasn't giving it its justice by discussing it, and so I really wanted you to come with me and see it, and this was like the perfect opportunity for you to come with us. So we decided that we were going to leave on Saturday morning from Bentonville. So we got up and left, and we got to the Butler Center around noon or so.
Around noon.
And we signed in and everything. And thinking back now, I should have logged into the computer and let you actually look at the finding aid before we got there, so you would have a little bit better idea of what you wanted to look at. But I didn't do that. We'll do that next time. So what did you end up looking at when you were there?
I looked at mostly obituaries. And I didn't just look at the ones from my family. I went back and I looked at several just from people in Newport and Jackson County that I knew. And it brought back so many memories of all these people that I grew up knowing, people that had been, members of my church, people that I had gone to school with, people that were just, in the neighborhood. And it just brought back so many memories, and I just could not believe he still had information as far back as some of the obituaries that I saw. I did look at the document that showed, where all of the cemeteries are in Jackson and Woodruff County, because we were looking for where my grandfather on the right side was buried.
Right.
And we got a good indication about that. And I do now. I've been telling everybody that I talk to from Newport and Jackson County about the James Logan Morgan collection.
Yes, and anytime that I know that I'm going to the Butler Center to look at this collection, I always go through and make out, my list of things that I wanted to look at. And one of the things that I did want to look at is the cemetery records, because again, like you said, I was looking for your grandfather, Oscar Wright, where he's buried and what cemetery he's in, which I was able to find a document that said that he is buried in Howell, Arkansas, in Woodruff County. I personally have never heard of Howell. I don't know where that is. I don't even know if it's like a real city now or if it's just...
It probably isn't, because it wasn't a real city back then. It's always been a place between two larger towns.
Mm-hmm.
It is still there, but it's not nearly as large as it was even back then.
So that would obviously be another trip for another day, going to Howell in the daytime in the spring when it's nice, and I have a full tank of gas, because I will probably get lost. So what were your thoughts about the actual Butler Center? That was, I'm guessing, your first time actually going into a research center of that sort. What did you think of the actual atmosphere of the research room?
Oh, I thought it was great because the James Logan Morgan collection is such a special collection that it is kept behind locked doors, and you have to sit in a special area just to look at it.
Yes.
If that gives you any idea of how special this collection is. So I thought that was great. The atmosphere was very nice. The representatives of the Butler Center were very, kind and helpful. And it's just such a great collection. I just feel like I should be sending the people at the Butler Center something, and his family as well, just for donating the collection.
Because I don't know how organized Mr. Morgan was. In my mind, I feel like there were just boxes of information there. And when he passed away, his family had to obviously go through these things. And that is something that, they could have just thrown out. But they didn't. I guess they knew how much his genealogy and his love of history and his love of Jackson County meant to him, and they wanted to preserve it. So they originally gave it to the Jackson County Historical Society, but they didn't have room for it, obviously, because it was so large, and they didn't have the resources to be able to actually go through it and organize it with, folders and boxes and things of that nature. So they decided to donate it to the Butler Center, and it took the Butler Center almost 8 months to go through it and organize it and get it available to the public, which, again, like you said, I'm very grateful, because I have been able to find information on my grandparents. I found stuff on my actual parents. I've seen pictures of my parents when they were in high school. The school that they went to, Branch High, he has a whole series that's just devoted to Branch. So for me personally, this has been a wealth of information during this process for all 4 of my branches of my family. I've been able to find something on everybody, because that's where I found my grandfather Booker Mays' funeral program was in the James Logan Morgan collection. So once I found that, I knew that he had some good stuff in there.
Yes, because until then, I don't think we have been able to find the funeral program for Booker.
No.
Mays.
No, and at that time, that was the first visit that I made to the Butler Center, and I just went into the M's for Mays, because they're organized by surname, the obituaries and funeral program. So I picked up, I put a list for all the letters of the surnames I was looking for. So I really wasn't even anticipating seeing it, but luckily I was able to contain myself, and I didn't scream in the library. I don't know how I did that, but I was very excited about finding it. Again, this is why I tell everybody that I know, especially the people from Newport, about it, and I just don't feel like I ever give it the magnitude of what it is and what it consists of. But I will continue to tell people and hoping that they come.
Well, one of the things that I actually enjoyed seeing, even though you had sent it to me, had shared it with me, was a photograph of my father singing at the KMBY radio station in Newport. James Logan Morgan had that photographed. It was taken in 1941.
Right.
And so even though I had seen it and we had a copy of that at home at one time, just seeing it as part of a collection meant a great deal to me. And as you said, so I knew they had some really, really good stuff. If they had a photograph from 1941 of my father and his group. So, I just, and I share with people the funeral programs that I saw from some, people that I know, and those people that I have spoken to since then. If I saw anything about any of their people or them, I shared that with them to try to encourage them to go to the Butler Center, because a lot of these people live in Little Rock now. And so all of the ones that do, I do encourage them to please go to the Butler Center and check out the James Logan Morgan collection.
Yes, the James Morgan collection was the topic of conversation for the remainder of our genealogy trip, because we did, after we left, the next day we went to Newport, and everybody we saw, we talked about the James Morgan collection. When we saw my brother that night, we talked about the James Morgan collection. So we did, that was the topic of discussion that weekend. Other than what you looked at, I'm sure you plan to go back.
I do.
Do you have any things specific you are looking for, or you just...
Well, I don't have anything specific that I'm looking for, but when I go back, I would like to look at the Branch High, his Branch High information. Branch High School is the school that I went to, and it is no longer in Newport. The school's integrated, and so the Branch High School was closed. I was the last graduate of W.F. Branch High School in May of 1970. So he does have lots of information all through the years from Branch. So I would like to be able to just go back and look at some things from the Branch High days. Those were good days.
That'll be. I mean, it's like taking a look down memory lane.
It really is.
And also when I was there, I was had recently talked to one of my cousins who is working on her family tree, so I was able to find some information for her to help her with her genealogy, as well as we saw a picture of Aunt Gaze and Uncle Norris and Aunt Henry and Aunt Seal, and we were going the next day to Newport to see Kathy. So it's like everybody I see at the Butler Center, I know. So again, that's one of the reasons why this collection is, near and dear to my heart. Not only does it give me the information that I need to help gain information for my genealogy, but this is actually my community. This is my story. This is my history. So I do encourage everybody that I know to go to see it.
And I just think, and as you said, the collection is so large, there's no way you could see it in even some years, but there's going to be something there. No matter what you look at, it's going to be something that will bring back, a memory.
Right. And we were there for about 4.5 hours.
About 4.5 hours.
And of course, it didn't seem like that until we signed out and we wrote the time down. But in that just little bit of time, it was like being in Newport again.
It really was.
So this is part 1 of our genealogy road trip. This will pick up where we left off once we left the Butler Center on our next podcast. I want to thank my mom for joining me today, and thanks for going with me on the road trip. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. I did, and I can't wait until we go to the Butler Center again.
Yes, we'll definitely have to do it again. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to check out my blog on journeythroughthegenerationsblog.wordpress.com. That is where I actually write about my genealogy journey, the places I've been, the documents that I've seen, the experiences that I have. And also follow me on Twitter at Gen Journey. That's GEN Journey. And you can subscribe to the podcast that you're listening to now, Journey Through the Generations, on iTunes and the Bumpers app. Thanks again for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.